So from time to time, you may receive a QuickBooks error. Kelly is going to talk to us today about some of the most common ones that you may experience in EverLogic. So Kelly, let's start with the QuickBook error, duplicate deposits in QuickBooks.
Yes, if you have done an unposting from the end of day from QuickBooks, you've unposted your end of day, you fix something, and you have to repost your end of day, so you don't want to duplicate your deposits. To avoid that, when you send over your end of day for the second time, you can go in and delete those deposits that are already over there. You can do that by going through your end of day process, and you'll get to the part where it says receive payment. From there, you're going to select the line item, the line deposit that you want to delete. You would go ahead and select delete, and it would delete it from your end of day. Now, even if you delete all payments within that receive payment box on your end of day, you'll want to go ahead and still select receive payment as the option there in that window, just to make sure that your end of day is transferred over.
All right, now Kelly will tell us about how to address the error for duplicate name exists.
Yes, if you get the error where there is a duplicate name that exists, QuickBooks is unable to differentiate between having a customer that is a vendor and a customer. So we have to change the name in EverLogic just a slight bit so that it goes over to QuickBooks properly. Here's an example that the error message you would see during an end of day process would go ahead and indicate that there is a customer that may also be listed as a vendor. So to go ahead and change that, you would go into your vendors on EverLogic and usually put a dot or an asterisk or something after their name to differentiate them from being a customer, and save that, and the record should go over fine.
Kelly, if I get an error that says QuickBooks Online Access Token, what should I do?
Yes, if you received an access token error message from QuickBooks, that means that you'll need to refresh your information. You can do that by going to the System Setup option on your EverLogic toolbar. You'll select System Roles, and you'll look for your QuickBooks Access Token and QuickBooks Refresh Token. So here's your QuickBooks Refresh Token and your Access Tokens. You're going to go ahead and delete the information, hit OK. Again, the access token here. You're removing the information, hit OK, save, and you're going to go ahead and log off of EverLogic. When you log back in and have QuickBooks open, it will refresh that information, and you should be able to access QuickBooks and have the communication with QuickBooks and EverLogic corrected.
If I've received error code 3120, what should I do?
If you receive a QuickBooks or EverLogic error message when you're processing your end of day that the specified request cannot be found, usually it can be resolved with selecting a specific system rule. If you go to your System Setup tab on the EverLogic toolbar and you select System Rules, you can go ahead and select the Auto Apply Payment rule. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to pretty much force the end of day to go over. We're going to do that by disabling this. It should be set to 0 if you are disabling it. Otherwise, it typically would be set to 1. It is location specific. So once we're done modifying that, we're going to hit OK and save. And then we're going to go back to our end of day and process it, and it should process through just fine. Just remember, when you're done with your end of day processing, to go back to System Rules and change that setting back to the previous option.
Now I have an error that says no row at position 0. What should I do with this?
If you receive the QuickBooks error message while processing the end of day that there's no row at position 0, you're going to do it kind of like you did the last one with resolving it. You'll go to your System Setup tab on the EverLogic toolbar. You'll select System Rules, and you will select the Auto Apply Payment rule. Change it to a 0, save it, and then go ahead and process your end of day, and it should go over just fine. Just remember when you're done to come back to your system rules and change the rule back to its previous integer. That's it.
Kelly, I now have an error that says object reference not set to an instance of an object. How do I set it to an instance?
If you receive an error message during end of day processing that references object reference not set to an instance of an object, then the easiest way to resolve it is just like the last time. We went to the auto apply payment system rule and changed the setting. That will go ahead and resolve that issue and allow for your end of day to be pushed over to QuickBooks. And then you can come back into the system rule and make sure you reset it to the original setting and save it.
Now I've received an error prompting me to map the core when sending the end of day over to QuickBooks. How do I map the core?
The core is not mapped error. This could be due to two different types of situations. Either your dealership recently started using cores, possibly due to new regulation, or it was entered in error. Today we're going to discuss how, if it was entered in error, how to fix it. Essentially, you would go to your end of day that the core is located on. So we're going to go ahead and search end of days. And we're going to go ahead and go to the 30th. And here you would have to go ahead and unprocess the end of day to go ahead and work with the core and remove it if it was entered in error. So we're going to undo, unprocess. Okay. So now we're going to look for the core on the end of day tally. Essentially, we would look in the transactions. You would go to your total transactions or total sales will give you all the ROs, invoices that are on that end of day. That's where you're going to find the issue with the core. If you scroll over, you can see where the core column is. And right there, our $50 is sitting right there under the core column. So we know that it's this RO that we want to remove that core from. So we go ahead and open that RO, and that is RO number 11378. And essentially, we would want to open the RO by going to Tools and Reopen. And now that view only goes away as well. Now from here, we can go ahead and remove the core from the Parts tab. And we will locate it. There's that part of the core. And you're also going to look for the cleaning part of the core right here. So the clean and the dirty part, you're going to want to remove. So we would select the line item, remove part. Again, go to the other one. Here it is with the charge. Remove that. Now we've removed both the clean and the dirty part of the core, and then we're going to go ahead and save this. And then we're going to go ahead and close it back out. Yes. Now this is not an error message. It's essentially asking you what day you want this to go on to. Do you want it to be on the new end of day, or do you want it to stay where it was previously saved? We want to go ahead and select where it was previously saved. So we would hit no. Okay, always read those messages. We'll go ahead and close out that RO. That is reclosed. We'll go ahead and reprocess the end of day. And I'm just going to pull it back up here. Under Office Operations, search end of day. We want to make sure it's not processed at this time. So we want to check the box is processed and search for it. And there it is, the 30th. We go ahead and process it from here. And you're good. They can go ahead and post the end of day as it stands now.
I've received an error relating to parts inventory map code. How do I fix this?
The parts inventory map code error may appear if you don't have it properly mapped over to QuickBooks. This will be seen when you do cycle counts or you're adjusting your inventory on your parts. You would use this code. It would come up in your end of day. I'm going to give you an example of seeing the error code. It would be when you're processing the end of day. You would go ahead and save that. If you see a blank blank box here, that means it hasn't been mapped. So that'll be one indication that there's going to be an issue. So I'm going to go ahead and try to save it. Error posting to QuickBooks. This may be one of the error messages you get. So we're going to go ahead and map that. And that's going to be in your map codes here. You would go down to your parts and service, found here. And you would look for your PI, Parts Inventory Map Code. And if we go here, if we double click on it, we can see that there is nothing assigned to the asset or the cost of goods sold field. You do need one for each of these. So our asset is going to be our inventory, parts and accessories. So we'll select that. And then our cost of goods is going to be our parts adjustment. Now, both of these items need to be set up in QuickBooks prior to setting them up here. Okay, we're going to go ahead and save that. You also will receive a message like this. Again, it's just a message asking why you're changing the mapping. It is not an error. You'll go ahead and put your reason in here, record it. Always remember to hit save. And if we go back to our end of day, and you can see the field has been filled in now. So this should map over correctly, and we'll save it and it should process. The invoice has been created in QuickBooks. It's your indication that it has been processed and you're good.
This error says DEP is not mapped. How do I map it?
The DEP map code error will appear when there is incorrect mapping from EverLogic to QuickBooks. This is the error message that you will receive. DEP has not been mapped. Please go to Set Map Codes and assign the correct mapping. So we're going to hit OK, and we're going to do what it says. We're going to go over to our Set Map Codes, and I have it up here. Essentially, you would go down to DEP. You can go ahead and pull your Found Where button into the grid, and that will open up all fields. Then you can search for DEP on the list. There it is. We're going to go ahead and map this. Again, this is customer deposits. There it is, and you'll hit OK. This is just an alert message. It's not an error message. This just asks why you're mapping, remapping this. And we can do initial mapping. And then we'd hit save. And your deal should go over to QuickBooks.
This error says payment cash does not exist on the list. How do I fix this?
If you receive the send end of day to QuickBooks error message that payment cash has not been mapped or does not exist, you will need to go ahead and create an item within QuickBooks Online to be listed as a non-inventory item or in QuickBooks Desktop as a other charge. It needs to be mapped to undeposited funds in QuickBooks.
This error says there was a problem attempting the transaction in the database. What should I do?
If you receive an error message that there was a problem attempting the transaction to the database, this could be for a number of reasons. Go ahead and try that action again. If you're still having issues, you'll need to contact customer support at 904-998-4066, option 1, or you can email us at support@everlogic.com.
What about error code 3180?
If you receive QuickBooks error number 3180, QuickBooks error can have the same error number, however the message may be different. This is a common end-of-day posting message, and typically it can be resolved with just closing everything out and reopening it. If you do persistently have issues, you can contact our email at support@everlogic.com or call us at 904-998-4066, option 1.
I have received an error while posting an end of day that states, attempting to send payments to QuickBooks. What do I do now?
If you receive the QuickBooks error message attempting to send payments to QuickBooks, this is typically because the payment is already over there. To go ahead and resolve this, this error message will display when the payment has already been posted to QuickBooks. Double check each payment within your end of day to identify which one is already over in QuickBooks, and then you can eliminate that from your end of day and process and go ahead and make sure that that is not a duplicated payment in QuickBooks.
I have received an error posting on accounts, warranties, and/or transactions with deposits. What should I do?
If you receive the QuickBooks error posting on accounts, warranties, and/or transactions with deposits, you may want to give EverLogic a call. This can be a little bit more complicated to investigate the cause. We will help you go through each of the transactions and identify the issue and resolve it for you. All you have to do is contact us at either our phone number, 904-998-4066, option 1, or you can email us at support@everlogic.com.
On behalf of myself and Kelly, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. As always, if you have any questions or concerns, don't hesitate to send us a ticket at support@everlogic.com, or you can call us at 904-998-4066.